Ketchup, but I'm Mike Wilbon, hosting from the studio for the fourth straight day.
Tony Kornheiser, big deal. I did that too in 2019.
Yeah.
What's the big deal?
That's good. That's good. Yeah, we're working on 4 years now. How about that?
I probably did 5 days a number of times.
I don't
When
know.
you were jetting all around every house you have in America.
Well,
Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Sean Payton contemplates his future. Derek Carr says goodbye, and Steve Young joins us for 5 good minutes. But we begin today with Lamar Jackson, who has not played in 5 weeks and seems unlikely to play this Sunday. Jackson is famously representing himself in contract negotiations with the Ravens. His contract is up after this season. Wilbon, where does Lamar Jackson's uncertain status leave the Ravens both short and long term?
It leaves them treading a lot of water, Tony, because you got two dilemmas here. One, you don't know what he's willing to give, and if he's willing to give the way he did in those first 3 seasons when he was an MVP, one of them, he's just 25 years old. You don't know what he's willing to give you if he's not signed. Is he unhappy? Is he going to get out there and risk life and limb? And then you've got the, oh, wait, when he does risk limb, it's too often. No one except Justin Fields, who's a pup, no one has been hit more, contact hits they call it, than Lamar Jackson. So even when he's out there, he's at risk. You don't know if you have him. And then if you can't get him out there, what's the point? The Ravens are in a predicament here, Tony. They need this guy to win. They've built everything around him specifically. And now you can't get him out there. You don't know if he's willing or ready to play physically and emotionally. What does all that mean?
No, I'm with you. He's a great player.
He is.
There's 25 teams in the league will throw their quarterbacks out if they can get this guy. He's an MVP player. The reason you want him is because in the games that he's missed this year, the Ravens have averaged 12 points a game.
Yeah.
The only offense worse are the inept New York Jets. And the reason you're nervous is because you don't know if he's really hurt or if this is a business decision that he doesn't want to go out there and jeopardize himself. And meanwhile, your team has to go on. John Harbaugh says all the time, we want him, we want him, we want him. Well, I'll tell you this, Mike, and I'm not sure he should be his own agent, but that's a different story. Kyler Murray got paid and Dak Prescott got paid. And they ought to pay this guy. He's a rare talent, Mike. I blame the Ravens for this. I do. I blame the Ravens more than I blame Lamar.
Well, Tony, look, and even if now they franchise him and don't reach an agreement
He's unhappy
long term, is he going to be unhappy? We saw this play out in Washington with a guy who went to Minneapolis ultimately, and they haven't had a quarterback since with Kirk Cousins. So,
Mike,
this is
that's a lose-lose.
Yeah,
a franchise thing is a lose-lose.
At quarterback.
It is.
It is. Sean Payton may soon have a new team. The Saints have given the Broncos, Cardinals, and Texans permission to speak to their former head coach, who's still under contract with them through 2024. Tony, if you're Sean Payton, which one of these messes might actually tempt you?
Okay, so they all stink. We're going to proceed from that. They all stink. Houston just doesn't have a squad. You win 3 games in the NFL, there's not that much to work with. And organizationally, they were terrible with Deshaun Watson. That was awful. But they got the number 2 overall pick, so if Sean Payton thinks there's a quarterback he wants, maybe that's where he goes. That's a winnable division. It's a weak division. Your Arizona Cardinals are all smoke and no fire. We have no idea if Kyler Murray is going to be able to start the season.
None.
They lose.
Probably won't.
In the second half of the season, they collapsed under Cliff Kingsbury. I don't really like that situation, which leaves me Denver. Everybody said in the offseason, Denver's got everything. All they need is a quarterback. They went and got a quarterback, Russell Wilson. He stunk. Didn't work. It didn't work. Now, maybe Sean Payton says, I can resuscitate him. He's a small quarterback. Drew Brees is a small quarterback. So if I have to pick of these 3, I'll pick Denver. But I'd rather have the Chargers and I'd rather have the Cowboys.
I'd rather have either one of those and not any of these messes. And you're Sean Payton. I mean, you're not begging, okay? You're going to have a job, and you could have a great job. But, I've said all year to you, Tony, the problem in Denver wasn't Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson didn't have a season. I'm not going to argue that. But he didn't have a coach either. And there's nothing wrong with Russell Wilson that a good coach can't cure quickly. And that
Payton
coach
is a good coach.
could be Sean Payton. Don't tell me that Russell Wilson, that was all his fault. I don't want to hear that. That's lazy. That's analysis today when nobody wants to criticize head coaches in the NFL. I don't know quite why
Sean
that is,
Payton,
but they skate.
Sean
and this guy
Payton's a
can't
Hall of Fame
skate.
coach, Mike.
Yeah.
He's won 63% of his games in a lot of years.
And
He's
so
a Hall
let's
of
see
Fame
it
coach.
somewhere else.
But what does he want? Does ownership matter? Organization matter? Does location matter?
I ain't giving him keys to the kingdom. I'm not giving him that. I'm not. Like Mike Holmgren, I'm not giving anybody that.
He could wait another year.
He could
do that.
He could,
According to the NFL Network, the Las Vegas Raiders will begin the process of evaluating the trade market for Derek Carr. This morning, Carr himself posted a farewell message to the Raiders and their fans on Twitter. Wilbon, do you understand why the Raiders appear to be cutting ties with Carr?
Yeah, money. That's all this is. Look at the timing of it. When they want to get rid of him, they don't want to have to pay, guaranteed more money, like 2 more years worth. Or, a lot of times it's roster bonus, signing bonus. They don't want to deal with it. They don't want to have the Raiders are poor relative to other NFL teams, even with that new stadium, Tony. They just are. They don't have the money that, say, Stan Kroenke has. I mean, everybody knows that. And so the Raiders don't want to pay him that money, and they'll get a guy on a rookie contract that can pay a whole lot less. They can see if they can build around somebody while he's on said rookie contract and maybe stay in contention that way. But they don't appear to have the money, and if they have it, they don't want to spend the money. And again, wealth is relative when we're talking about the other big boys, the big owners in the NFL. Raiders ain't in that group.
Yeah. I'm going to go to the coach, Josh McDaniels. It is clear that he wants Derek Carr out of there entirely. So I'm going to assume he's got somebody in mind that he wants, and I'm going to assume that somebody is either Jimmy Garoppolo or even Tom Brady. But I don't think that Josh McDaniels has earned our trust as a coach.
He ain't power either.
He finished 6-11 with the Raiders with Devontae Adams. I mean, he inherited a playoff team, and he drove him right into the ground. After a 6-0 start years back in Denver, he's like 11-28. So I think it's fair to ask if he knows what he's doing. You know what I smell for Derek Carr? Look, Derek Carr is not a top 10 quarterback.
I know where he's going. He might be 15.
He's not top 10.
Might be 15.
Top half, not top 10.
Okay.
He'll start on a mediocre team as he has his entire career.
Going.
He won't hurt it. He won't improve it. I smell Washington.
Of
You
course.
know I'm saying that.
Of course.
I smell
Yes, so do
Washington
I.
for Derek Carr.
Yes.
What do you smell?
Washington. That's that club's move. Now, if Daniel Snyder no longer owns a team, maybe that changes things altogether. That would have been a Dan Snyder move for about 20 years. 20 years worth of going to get him, of going to get Carr. But, Tony, there's no real indication that the Raiders, Josh McDaniel, please. He doesn't have any power to dictate who's going to be his quarterback, and he hadn't earned it.
All right, let's take a break. Coming up, what is Kyle Shanahan, and he's earned it. What is Kyle Shanahan doing for Brock Purdy that other coaches can learn from? We're going to ask Steve Young.
We'll also ask Steve how Dak Prescott can cut down on all those interceptions. 14 interceptions is not even a lot when Steve Young played. Look, Steve's in the Hall of Fame. I bet you there was a year he had 20. I bet you there was a year where Steve.
In our first segment, the NFL playoffs kick off this weekend, which makes it a perfect time to bring in our great friend, a man I'm told played in the playoffs multiple times, Hall of Famer Steve Young. It's a great set. Steve, you look like you're under house arrest. I really enjoy this. We'll start with this. 3 rookie quarterbacks could start this weekend. Skylar Thompson for Miami, Anthony Brown for Baltimore, and of course, Brock Purdy will start for San Francisco. Purdy is 5-0 as a starter. You have been very laudatory in your praise of Kyle Shanahan for what he has done for his rookie quarterback. What should other coaches, what's he doing, and what should other coaches learn from that?
Well, it's like asking me, Patrick Mahomes, why can't other quarterbacks be like Patrick Mahomes? Like, just what if we said every city said to their quarterback, hey, can you just do what Patrick Mahomes does? That would be really awesome. And that's what you're really saying here. Great coaching. And I'm going to use a Star Wars. I don't know if I've done this to you before, but it's like Obi-Wan Kenobi and Luke Skywalker. They had the Force. And when great coaches have the Force, you don't know how to describe it. You don't know how to exactly say it. You can see it in Patrick Mahomes on the field, but a coach, he's in a headset. You're like, yeah, he looks like everybody else on the sidelines. I don't know, why is he so great? But the skill level, the special nature of what they're able to do and the calculus they play, the three-dimensional chess, the innovation, all that stuff is unique. And I'm telling you, the great play callers, the great offensive minds, there's a handful, just like there's a handful of quarterbacks. Think about them the same way you would Patrick Mahomes. And then now say, why doesn't that happen everywhere else? Well, there's not 32 Patrick Mahomes. And that's the truth for great coaching as well.
Dak Prescott, who's thrown 14 interceptions his last 11 games, he says this won't continue. Steve, do you trust that given what you've seen?
Well, I would say this. He, a little bit of bad luck, which, how many times have I told you I want to take the house mic and explain what happened on the field, like to 80,000 people, excuse me, the defensive lineman put his hand up. It was a perfect pass, perfect timing, and he just tipped the ball. Like you want to not take full credit for the interception because you're like, how can he? Come on, man, that ball to Jerry Rice was perfect. So there is a little bit of that happening to Dak. If you look at his interceptions, he's had some bad luck, but he's also thrown some just boneheaded things. You're like, Dak, Harry High School can not do that. Now, come on. So in that way, as you go to the playoffs and the Cowboys, who have the roster, as Jerry Jones has told you 100 times, a roster to go to the Super Bowl, but has there anyone with vicissitudes and amplitude of being high and low than the Cowboys historically in this year? It makes you just want to claw your eyes out. And so to me, Dak Prescott, if he's going to win Monday night, cannot throw the ball around crazy. He might have some bad luck things, can't do anything about it, but to throw it into people's chests, especially when the game's on the line, especially on your end, a lot of Dak's interceptions are on his end of the field, which are immediately points for the defense. I mean, for the other team. So I feel bad for Dak, but then also he's walked into it a few times himself. So clean it up, Dak. It's like a Ferrari in the driveway leaking oil. It's like, come on, man, quit leaking oil. Let's be the Ferrari that you really are.
It's early in the year, but anytime you get the word vicissitudes in, I notice. We'll get you out of here on this, okay? Apparently you were on the Tom Brady podcast this week.
Apparently.
This is the juicy question. Do you get any sense that this could be Tom Brady's last game?
Oh, really? I mean, it's a rhetorical question because, I mean, he's 45 years old. So I'm like, oh, this is do you think it's possible? I mean, look, I got nothing from the conversation. He loves the fact that he can still rip the football. And I saw that in person, standing 5 feet from him on that Monday night game a couple of weeks ago in Tampa. And I'm going to see it again this Monday night. He can still rip the football. The stats tell you that when he gets protected, he's a top 5 quarterback. The stats, regardless of you can say, oh, I have my own opinion, but the stats bear it. But when he doesn't get protected, he is the bottom 4 or 5 in the league. And that is because, and that's always necessarily true for quarterbacks, but the game is so dynamic today that those guys that don't get protected, they go create. He can't create. So at 45 years old, he knows that. So if you're asking me if this is the last season, I got no sense of the fact that he thinks he can't still play. But if he's going to play into the future, he's got to get more help. This idea that he's not going to be protected, one of the things that he was generally protected always in New England. And if he's not going to be protected Monday night, you saw against the Bengals a few weeks ago, it's a terrible situation. So I would think the number one question that Tom would ask is, hey, this offensive line situation, is it going to get better? Because I got a big decision to make.
Thank you, Steve, as always.
Steve, you could still rip it at 37, 38. I remember I was there. You could rip it.
I should have. Tom and I talked about that. On this thing, like, because Roger Staubach was on with my hero, Roger Staubach, and then Tom's talked about me the same way. It's like 3 generations talking it out on his podcast. We loved it. But you know Roger Staubach, Michael, he was 60, and he's like, I can still play. You know, he's 80, and he was still talking about it. And I was laughing to myself because if I was really honest, and I watch the 49er offense right now, I'm like, I could do this. I know I can do it.
There we go.
So there's a sickness in it. I recognize that there's a sickness in it. I get it.
This is so great. Awesome. All right, you can see more of Steve on Monday Night Countdown. Let's take one last break. Still to come. Why did Zach LaVine, your boy Wilbon, shoot a 2 when the Bulls needed a 3?
and will the Celtics keep things going tonight in Brooklyn? I was on the sideline
Wilbon.
for one of Steve's
Wilbon,
last
how about
time.
this?